Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to FxManiac. This is Syed Mahmoud Amiri again, and welcome to another really cool tutorial where I'll show you guys how to model and light and render a lantern inside of Maya. Alright, so if you go into After Effects, I've just rendered out some shots. So this is a close-up shot, so we're going to be creating these really nice details, giving them some material. And here's another shot. I mean, it's pretty simple, but you know, there are some really good techniques that I want to show you guys along the way. And here's another one. So we're going to be creating this lantern in Maya and lighting and giving it material. So let's get started. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So the thing I'm going to do is first off, I'm just going to go ahead. You can use some reference images as I've shown you. You know, you can Google it and find some reference images of some lanterns, but I'm just going to go ahead and quickly do it out of, you know, eyeballing and just doing a general shape. So I'm just going to go ahead and shift right click and add a cylinder and just move it up. So right here, hit F to fit in and just move it up. Go into the poly cylinder settings and make sure it has like 6 sides, and we don't want the cap segment, so I'm just gonna set it to 0. So here we have our basic lantern sort of a shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this face and hit scale R and hold down the shift key and just drag it down so that we extrude it in, inset, and then go into the move tool, shift drag up to create a little bit of an extrusion, and then we're going to do the same thing over again. So just extrude it, inset it in, and then extrude it up. So basically we have a little lantern shape which is just looking like this. And I'm just going to go ahead and shift drag one more time and just hit R and scale it down a little bit to basically create that look, you know, so just like that. So we've basically sort of basically blocking the rough shape, and then I'm just going to delete the top face for now, and I'm just going to delete the bottom face of this for now as well. So you can see that if I hit 3, it's looking pretty smooth, which we don't want. We want these corners to be sharp. So what you can do is just right click and select edge and just double click, hold down shift and double click and select all of these edges along the shape, the 6 sides. So just double click, shift double click, and that's it. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and shift right click and bevel edge. And you can just go ahead and bevel it a little bit and add like 2 segments. So then we have that. And now if I hit 3, you can see that they are turning a little bit sharp, but not sharp enough. So we need to do a couple of more things. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is just select one edge and just shift right click and add a insert edge loop tool. Select the insert edge loop tool and add some edges on the corners of this object. So if you don't know this, it's basically a way of sort of maintaining the hardness of each of these you know, these points and these corners. So if I hit 3, you can see that the areas that we've just applied that you know, support edge it's called, so you can go ahead, they are maintaining the shape very sharp and very clear. And the areas that we haven't, you can see that they're turning very smooth. So you can basically control how smooth or how sharp an edge is by just using, you know, some extra support edges. So if you don't know, if you want a basic tutorial about, like, you know, support edges and modeling in general, so I am planning to do some basics tutorials on these things, so stay tuned for that. And for now, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly add these edges. Just add one more here. So if I hit 6 right now, sorry, 3, you can see that the general shape of the lantern is maintained. And now we can go ahead and add our, maybe this edge is a little bit too much, so it's just double click and hit the R key and just scale it down, just like that. Alright, so now it's looking nicer, I would say. And maybe I can go ahead and just select this, double click and shift right click, bevel edge, and just add one more segment in there to be able to maintain the shape properly. So now it's very clean and crisp. So now it's time to create the insets of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all these 6 faces, shift select, and just Control E to extrude and just offset them maybe a little bit, just like that, and then hit OK, and then extrude them again. Control E and just extrude them in, not like that much, but maybe this much is fine. And just right click and go to object mode. So now if I hit 3, you can see that they are not maintaining the shape. So what you can do is again add some support edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead, shift right click and insert edge loop tool, and I'm just going to add some support edges to the top and the bottom of this object. So now you can see that they are maintaining the shape, but we still need to add quite a few more support edges, especially on the inside of these objects. Maybe one here. So now you can see that it is maintaining properly. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it for all these edges. So just add there. And again, if you don't get this thing and how this works, you can go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section for this tutorial. So I may do a basic tutorial on this one. So make sure to do that if you want to. So just continuing along the shape. Alright, so if I go ahead and right click, go into the object mode, you can see that it is there. And yeah, that's basically about it. And if you see the channel box, you can see that we have a lot of different operations down here, which I can go ahead into edit, delete by type, and history, so that it is completely fresh. And now we have our shape pretty much done. So the next thing will be to add all those details and those floral and really nice details that we've seen in our first image. So for that, I'm just going to be using this, if I go into Photoshop, this floral sort of element, which I am going to put the link in the description so that you can use it. So I have it in Photoshop. I'm just going to go ahead and just select the layer. So control click on it, control click on the thumbnail, just go to a selection tool, right click and make work path, and make sure to set the tolerance to 1 so it'll be a lot more accurate. And I'm just going to go ahead and save it as export path to Illustrator. So go ahead and hit OK. So here I have it. I'm just going to set it as floral and hit save. Then I'm going to go into Maya and just go ahead, file, import, and go into that address that we had. So here it is. I'm just going to go into floral, and you can see that we have our thing here. So I'm just going to move this one out here, or I can just hit H and hide it. So I have this selection. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and turn them into like 3D objects. So the very quick and easy way to turn them into 3D objects, first off, select them all and go into modify center pivot, would be to go ahead and go into the modeling menu, go to surfaces and set it to bevel plus. So now we have this. Select the other one, hit G to repeat the same operation, and I'm just going to repeat it for all the different pieces. And that's basically it. And the other thing I'm going to do is just select them all and go into mesh, combine, and just move it here and delete these splines, or you can just hide them if you need them for any later use. And just going to edit, delete by type, history, and modify freeze transformations. And if I go ahead and unhide my poly cylinder, so just hit select it in the outliner. If you don't have the outliner, you can just click here or go into window, outliner, hit H so that it'll bring it up. Make sure it is in the center of the workspace. So you can go ahead, hit hit 4 to show the wireframe, and just move it in the center of the scene. And scale this up a lot. Scale it down so that it kind of, we want to fit in like 2 or 3 of them inside of one of these, So in the end, you can go ahead and smooth them. We can add one more like segment here. So just select the edge and just go into insert edge loop tool. Just add one here to get rid of these. Just make sure it is on the edge I forgot to do it, so just you can do it now as well. So make sure to add it on all of them, just like that. Alright, so now our edges are looking pretty clean and sharp. So now we have this one here. I'm just going to go into the, this is like the front view, so I'm just going to hit spacebar, go to Maya, and go into the back view so that we have this here. Hit F to zoom out or zoom in or fit it in. I'm just going to move it like here and move it up. And I'm just going to copy one of these and make sure that it is, just scale it up slightly so that two of them will fit inside this one side of the lantern. And it's a very, it's just, something that you can put more of your time in, use different design elements. I'm just going to go ahead and use this one. So make sure when you're rotating it, hold down J to kind of snap it. And I'm just going to go select both of them, mesh, combine, Control D, move it down, and just like that. You can just go ahead, select both of them. Again, Control D, move it here, hit F. That's basically it, and then Shift D, Shift D, Shift D to basically copy them over. So now if I go ahead into the perspective view, you can see that we have all these elements that are actually there, and I'm just going to select everything, hold down Control to deselect this and move it in the front, and go to Mesh, Combine. And the very important thing that you want to do is make sure to not hit 3 on this, otherwise your Maya will just crash. So just save your file beforehand before you do any mistakes and stuff. Alright, so don't hit 3 on it because it's going to crash. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this and go to Edit, Delete by Type and History, so that we delete the history of the objects. I'm just going to move it up a little bit slightly. So now we just need to copy this, to all these sides that we want. So what you can do, because we've set our anchor point of this object to the middle, we do need to set that one as well. So if I go ahead and select my object here, I want to go ahead and press D and move it to the center of the grid. So just press D and just move it again. Make sure it is in the center properly. So you can just go ahead and zoom in actually, and make sure it is pixely perfect in the middle. So now if I go ahead and rotate this, you can see that it is actually rotating along the angle of that object. So I'm just going to go ahead, hit Control D and just rotate it. Make sure it fits in, and that's it. I'm just going to go Shift D and just rotate it again, probably like a few degrees, and Control D again and just like rotate it to this side. And because of that anchor point being in the center, it just makes our lives a lot more easier. So just go ahead and rotate it, and that will be done one more time. And I think that is it. So just rotate in place, and we have our very cool sort of elegant, lantern that we can go ahead and do some lighting and materials right now. So this is probably the most easiest way to create these sort of things, these design elements. You can go ahead and, of course, there are some advanced ways and and stuff, but I just wanted to show you guys how to set it up like very quickly. And now on to the rendering part. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a plane. Before we get into the lighting part of this tutorial, if you haven't subscribed to my new channel, Audio Aura, we basically present a lot of high quality, royalty free, no copyright music for you people. So you can go ahead, use them, download them, and use them for your projects. So we have different types of music: emotional, motivational, calm, relaxing, sleep music, any type of music that you need. You can find it here for free. So if you find it useful, make sure to subscribe and share our content. And if you haven't subscribed to my main channel, of course, you can go ahead and subscribe and support us. Alright, so let's get back to the tutorial. Alright, so let's get back to the tutorial, and I'm just gonna scale this plane up and hide the grid. I'm just gonna go ahead and quickly add some metal materials and do some quick lighting, but you can go ahead and take it into the next level by adding some textures and stuff, which I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna unwrap this and stuff. Just gonna do a quick lighting using some Arnold materials. So alright, I'm just gonna go and right click, select this object and right click and go into assign new material. Make sure to go into the shader and AI standard surface, and I'm gonna go right click on it and go to material attributes and choose a preset. I'm just gonna choose like what you can go choose any type of metal or anything, so you can go ahead and select maybe like brushed metal. So I'm just gonna go replace that, and if I add some lights, I'm gonna go into Arnold lights and I'm just gonna add an area light. Just go ahead and put it here just like this. Make sure that you set the exposure to like 7 to begin with, and if I go here, set this to Arnold, you can see that our render will just show up, and I think it's pretty dark, so you can go ahead and increase this to like 10. That will be really nice. Make sure to give it like a color, maybe like a little warm color, just like that, and Control D this one and rotate it to this side so that we have one from this side, and just move it outwards and up, and set this to blue, like a bluish color, maybe a little desaturated. Then I'm just going to select this and hit F, so now you can see it's there, and I can go ahead and give them a material. So just select all of them, select all of these, control click on the lantern body itself so that it deselects it, and just right click and go add a new material, shader, AI standard surface, and again you can go ahead, I'll choose like gold or something, replace, so they're like golden, which they look pretty good, I would say. And I need another light. Maybe I just need to move up the plane a little bit, and just like that. And I'll need another light from probably like this front side, so just rotate it like that and just move it so you can, it's there, want it to be here, not that much. If I hit F on it, you can see that we got our lantern, but yeah, it's looking pretty basic and shiny. But I want to show you guys a couple of more things. So if you want the inside to be on or something, what you could do is you could go ahead and delete all these. If I go ahead and turn off this, I can just go ahead and isolate this, so Control 1, and just delete all the internal faces. So just delete them, Shift select and delete. So now we have like a little cover of the object, and even though we have that little circle thing, which we can add an edge, but it's not necessary because we have, if I hit Control 1, all the other details inside, which will probably make it look a lot more better if I go into the Arnold render view. So just go ahead. Alright, so now we want the inside to kind of look like it's illuminating. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a sphere and make sure it is on the inside of this object, which it is. And I'm just going to go into Arnold, Lights, and Mesh Light. And you can go ahead and Light Visible and increase the exposure. So now we're going to have, like, if I set this to 10, you can see that the inside is looking pretty bright, but still we can't really like see that it is burning bright. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this to like an orangish color, which will affect it. But then the other thing I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and select this material, it is pretty shiny, so I'm just going to increase the roughness to like not that much, but yeah, I don't want it to be like that much shiny. Maybe a little bit less, so just like that. Yeah. And I need to give this ground material also a favorite Lambert and make it like dark so that we can see the lighting a little bit better, just like that. And now you can see it there, but if you really want it to shine through, you can go ahead into the render settings, and I've done a separate tutorial on it, which I'll put the card on the top right corner of the screen, on how to do the the environment atmosphere volume. So you can go ahead and add that. Just click here and add it, and if you don't see it, you can just go ahead and increase the density, which will increase the density a lot. And the problem here is we only want that sort of a specific lamp to kind of give us those volumetric lighting effect. So what you can do is just stop this for now. Select all these lights, go down into the visibility and turn the volume down to 0. So you can just go ahead and set it to 0 and set this one as well to 0. We only want the mesh light to kind of give us that original, that volumetric look. So you can go ahead and set that, and now you can see it's looking pretty cool actually, but it's just going to take some time to process. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and set it to orange, and again you can go into the render settings, click here, and you can set a color as well. So set it to like orange color, or the color of your light, which in this case is orange. And the other thing I'm going to do, you can go ahead and increase the attenuation, which will basically sort of create more like those rays effect. So you can play around with that and increase the density as much as you want. But this is like sort of an extra effect. We can do this in After Effects as well. So I'm just going to show you guys how to do that. But this one will also make it look, a lot more cooler. You can go and increase the attenuation, basically like that. So now I'm just going to go ahead and take a frame out of this and bring it into After Effects. And if you don't want this sphere to be visible, you can just go ahead into your outliner mesh light actually here. Yeah, so yeah, the color was not working because we were selecting the wrong light the whole time. So you can go ahead and select the color right now, which will make it a lot more orange, which is really nice. And then I'm just going to go ahead and increase this a little bit, maybe not that much, and turn off the light visible so you won't see the original source of light. So I'm just going to go ahead and render this out. Just go ahead into the render settings. You can go and render a sequence. And if you don't know how to render a sequence, I've done a separate tutorial on this. So I'll put the card again on that top corner. So I'm just going to set this to like 5, set this to 4, and the volume indirect to 3 as well. And I'm just going to take out an HD 1080p frame, and I'm just going to go and click on render. So it'll take some time, but I'll be back when this is done. Alright, so our frame is done. It took about like 3 minutes, but you can see that it still has some noise, but we are getting that volumetric look that we want to. So you can basically do some basic like color correction here, which I'm just gonna I'm gonna do it in After Effects. So I'm just gonna like give it some contrast and some exposure, just like that. So I'm just gonna go ahead, file, and save image. You can render out a sequence. Again, I've done a separate tutorial on it, but for now I'm just gonna save a single image. So just go ahead and save it. Alright, so save, and I'm now going to go into After Effects. So here I have a blank scene in After Effects. I'm just going to double click. So I have my render. I'm just going to import it in After Effects, and I'm just going to add the effect RG Trapcode Shine, which would really sort of give it that volumetric look. And you can go ahead and increase it, or you can set it to add, or just decrease the sort of ray length and increase the boost light if you really want to like boost this up. But this is basically the effect. You can go ahead and set it up or any direction that you want, or even you can go ahead and just create a new adjustment layer and paste it here, and you can turn down the opacity if you don't want it to be like that much. But this is basically how you create a sort of lantern inside of Maya, model it, texture, not like really texture it, but give it some material and lighting. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I mean, you can use this extruding floral tip to basically do these kind of effects, which are kind of complicated, but if you use them, and if you bring it from Photoshop or Illustrator, you can use this way to kind of you know, make it a little bit more easier. So this was today's tutorial. I hope you learned something from it, and if you have any questions, anything that you want to ask or you miss out, you can go ahead into my YouTube channel, FxManiac, and just you know, ask it there. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure to subscribe and like the video, leave a comment. It'll mean a lot to me. And you know, that is basically it for today's tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. Until the next one, enjoy working.